Fight an undefeated warrior champion. Debate the brilliant woman you're falling in love with. Prove cooperation works when the earth literally tears itself apart. 3 tests. 3 kingdoms. Everything on the line. If they fail, both Altheria and Khazara fall under matriarchal rule. If they win, a prince might marry the enemy scholar who secretly wants him to succeed. The contest starts now. The morning sun blazed hot over the arena. Thousands had gathered, Nigerian citizens filling every level of the stone amphitheater, crescent blade warriors lining the perimeter in gleaming armor, Altherian and Khazaran honor guards standing at attention. This was history being made. Princess Nala stood in her designated corner, rolling her shoulders and testing her grip on the ceremonial sword. It was perfectly balanced, well crafted. Nomera, at least, fought fairly. She wore her burgundy leather warrior vest and fitted pants, her box braids pulled back tight, gold rings catching the sunlight. Her face showed no fear, only focused determination. Across the arena, Princess Amara stretched like a predator preparing for the hunt. The Nomran warrior was imposing, taller, more muscular, her silver-purple armor gleaming, scars visible on her exposed arms. She moved with the confidence of someone who had never lost. Her short warrior-cut hair emphasized the intensity of her features. When she drew her practice sword, it sang through the air with deadly precision. "Do not die," Prince Adebayo said quietly, standing beside Nala. His hands were clasped behind his back to hide their trembling. "That would complicate our diplomatic mission considerably." Nala laughed, the sound sharp and confident. "I don't plan to. But if I do, make sure my brother knows I died as a warrior should, facing a worthy opponent." "You will not die," Adebayo insisted. "You're too stubborn." "Good assessment," Nala replied, then stepped toward the center of the arena. Queen Mother Amina stood from her throne overlooking the arena. The test of blades will now begin. This combat proves whether skill and courage belong to one gender, or to those who earn them through discipline and dedication. Her voice carried across the vast space. "Fight with honor. Fight with truth. Begin." The crowd roared. Amara struck first, a powerful overhead strike designed to test Nala's strength. Nala didn't try to match it directly. Instead, she deflected, using the angle to redirect the force while stepping aside. Amara grinned. "You're smart," the Nomran princess acknowledged. "Most try to match my power directly. They lose." "I'm not most warriors," Nala replied, then launched her own attack, a series of quick strikes from multiple angles, testing Amara's defense. The crescent blade commander blocked each one, but her eyes widened slightly. Nala was fast. Faster than she'd expected. What followed was a display of martial prowess that left the crowd breathless. Amara brought raw power and decades of training with the most elite warriors in the land. Nala brought adaptability and techniques drawn from 2 kingdoms' military traditions. Altherian precision and Khazaran aggression blended seamlessly. They fought for 20 minutes without pause. Sweat soaked through their clothes. Breathing became labored. But neither gave ground unnecessarily. In the stands, Princess Zara gripped her book so tightly her knuckles whitened. "They're going to kill each other," she whispered. "No," Queen Amina said quietly, watching with the eye of someone who understood combat. "They're teaching each other." Look. It was true. With each exchange, both fighters adjusted their techniques slightly. Amara incorporated some of Nala's flowing movements. Nala adopted some of Amara's powerful stances. They were learning from each other even as they fought. The turning point came when Amara attempted her signature move, a feint followed by a devastating sweep kick. It had never failed. But Nala had been watching for patterns. She'd seen Amara favor her right side slightly. When the kick came, Nala wasn't where Amara expected. Nala's blade touched Amara's throat, not hard enough to injure, but undeniably a killing blow in real combat. The arena fell silent. Amara froze, then slowly smiled. "Point to you." She stepped back, raising her voice to the crowd. "The foreign princess has scored first blood." The crowd erupted, half in shock, half in appreciation of skill. But the match wasn't over. Amara came back with renewed intensity, adjusting her strategy. She scored her own point 5 minutes later with a brilliant disarm technique. 1-1. They circled each other, both exhausted but refusing to quit. The final exchange came when both attacked simultaneously. Their swords met with a crack that echoed across the arena. They pressed close, blade locked against blade, face to face. "You are worthy," Amara said through gritted teeth. "As are you," Nola replied. They broke apart by mutual agreement, both stepping back and lowering their weapons. "Draw," Amara announced. Neither victor, both proven. Queen Mother Amina stood slowly. The test of blades is complete. Princess Nola of Khazara has proven that warrior skill belongs to those who train, not to those born to a particular gender. Princess Amara of Narmera has proven her legend is earned, not exaggerated. Both have honor. The crowd's roar shook the stone seats. Amara extended her arm in the warrior's clasp. Nola gripped it firmly. "I would be honored to train with you," Amara said. "You have techniques I want to learn." "And I from you," Nola replied. "A warrior who stops learning is already dead." As they left the arena together, Amara's arm around Nola's shoulders in a gesture of respect, Adebayo felt hope bloom in his chest. The first test had proven something important. Merit transcended assumptions. But his test was next. And unlike physical combat, intellectual battle left scars that never healed. Tomorrow, he would face Princess Zara in the test of minds. And he would have to argue against the woman whose intelligence he admired, whose mind he cherished, whose heart he hoped to win. Sometimes, Adebayo thought as he watched Nola and Amara walk together like sisters, the hardest battles aren't against enemies. They're against people you're beginning to love. The Hall of Wisdom had been transformed into an arena of a different kind. Rows of seats surrounded a central space where two podiums stood facing each other. Behind each podium, a massive slate board waited for arguments to be written, examined, defended. This was where truth would be tested. Prince Adebayo stood at his podium, his cream and gold agbada perfectly pressed, his sacred bracelet visible on his wrist. He'd barely slept. How did you prepare to argue against someone whose mind you respected more than almost anyone you'd ever met? Princess Zara stood at her opposing podium, her purple and silver scholar's robes immaculate, her spectacles glinting in the afternoon light. Her face showed scholarly focus, but Adebayo could see tension in her shoulders. This was harder for her than for him. She had to defend beliefs she'd begun to question. Queen Mother Amina sat as judge, flanked by the kingdom's greatest scholars. The test of minds will now begin. Prince Adebayo will defend the proposition that men and women can lead equally when character, not gender, determines fitness to rule. Princess Zara will argue that historical evidence proves only matriarchal systems can provide stable, just governance. You have 4 hours. Present your cases. Adebayo began. Your Majesty, honored scholars, I do not argue that women are incapable of leadership. The evidence before us proves otherwise. Queen Mother Amina has ruled wisely for decades. Princess Amara commands the respect of the finest warriors. Princess Zara's brilliance is evident to anyone who speaks with her for 5 minutes. Zara's eyes widened slightly. He was starting by praising Narmera. Instead, Adebayo continued, I argue that these examples prove leadership comes from individual qualities: wisdom, courage, justice, compassion. My mother, Queen Elise, was born an orphan. No wealth, no noble blood, no advantages. Yet she proved through 3 tests of character that she was worthy to be queen. Not because she was a woman, but because she possessed a golden heart. He turned to his slate board and began writing. Consider the evidence. In Altheria, King Rowan and Queen Elise rule together. Neither dominates. My mother's voice carries equal weight, often more, because her wisdom has earned such respect. In Khazara, King Malik learned from Prince Adebayo's counsel that true strength comes from serving others, not dominating them. He implemented reforms that improved his people's lives. Was he capable of this because he was male? No. Because he was willing to learn, to change, to put his people first. Princess Zara rose to respond, and Adebayo's heart clenched. She was magnificent in debate, sharp, precise, devastating. Prince Adebayo presents beautiful examples, she began, her voice carrying clearly. But anecdotes are not data. Let us examine history systematically. She turned to her board and began writing rapidly. For every example of a man who ruled with wisdom, I can show you 10 who ruled with cruelty. For every partnership like King Rowan and Queen Elise, I can show you 100 where men dominated, oppressed, diminished their female partners. She cited example after example, pulling from vast historical knowledge. Kings who betrayed their queens. Emperors who treated women as property. Systems that denied women education, autonomy, voice. My own grandmother, Zara said quietly, was nearly murdered by her husband, my grandfather, because he could not tolerate sharing power. The entire Nomaran system exists because a woman had to kill her husband to survive his treachery. How do you answer that, Prince Adebayo? The hall was silent. Adebayo took a slow breath. I answer it with the truth. Your grandfather was a tyrant. He deserved the fate he met. But tyranny is not a trait of masculinity, it's a trait of flawed character. Queen Nefertiti of ancient times was a wise and just female ruler. But Queen Jezebel was a tyrant who ordered murders to serve her ambition. Gender didn't determine their character. Their choices did. He paused, meeting Zara's eyes across the space. Princess Zara, you are one of the most brilliant minds I have ever encountered. Your arguments are sharp, your evidence compelling. But I ask you, do you truly believe that your intelligence is a product of your gender? Or is it a product of your dedication to learning, your curiosity, your discipline? Zara hesitated. It was brief, but Adebayo saw it. My intelligence, she said carefully, is mine. But the system that allowed me to develop, it was created by women who knew women needed opportunities men would never give them. Perhaps, Adebayo acknowledged. But consider, in my kingdoms, women and men both have opportunities. My mother's closest advisor, Marcus, was once a conspirator against her. She showed him mercy. He reformed and now serves loyally. Samuel, captain of our guard, was once an assassin hired to kill her. She pardoned him. He now protects my family with his life. Character can change. People can grow. And gender has nothing to do with that capacity for growth. The debate continued for 3 more hours. They covered governance theory, historical analysis, statistical evidence, philosophical principles. The crowd watched in awed silence as 2 brilliant minds clashed and danced and pushed each other to ever greater heights of argumentation. But something was shifting in Princess Zara's demeanor. Her arguments remained sharp, but her heart wasn't fully in them anymore. Adebayo could see it, the internal war between what she'd been taught and what she was coming to believe. Finally, as the 4th hour drew to a close, Zara made her final argument. Prince Adebayo has presented compelling individual examples. But systems cannot be built on hoping everyone will be virtuous. Matriarchy works because it removes the variable of male dominance from the equation. Adebayo stepped forward for his closing. Princess Zara argues that matriarchy works by removing a variable. But I argue that truly just systems work by making gender irrelevant. Judge people by their character. Give opportunities based on merit. Hold everyone, regardless of what body they were born into, to the same standards of justice, compassion, and service. He turned to Queen Amina. Your Majesty, you built a system based on pain, your mother's near murder, your family's betrayal. That pain was real. That anger was justified. But I ask you, is a system born from trauma truly the best we can achieve? Or can we build something better, not by excluding half of humanity, but by including all of it with clear standards about what leadership requires? The hall held its breath. Queen Mother Amina stood slowly. The test of minds is complete. I will render my judgment tomorrow, after consulting with my scholars. But know this, Prince Adebayo, you have argued well, better than I expected. Perhaps better than I wanted you to. As the crowd dispersed, Princess Zara approached Adebayo. Her eyes were wet behind her spectacles. You argued brilliantly, she whispered. And I wanted you to win. Does that make me a traitor to my own kingdom? Adebayo reached out, almost touching her hand but stopping just short. It makes you honest. And honesty is the foundation of everything good. She nodded, then fled before her tears could fall where others could see. Adebayo watched her go, his heart aching. He might win the contest. But at what cost? The judgment never came. That night, the earth shook. Adebayo woke to his room swaying violently. Stone dust rained from the ceiling. Outside, screams echoed through the darkness. He grabbed his agbada and ran into the corridor, where servants fled in panic. Earthquake! Someone shouted. Nola appeared from her room, already dressed in her warrior vest. The palace is stone. It should hold. But the lower city. They didn't need to finish the thought. The lower city was built on older foundations, older materials. If the earthquake was strong enough. They found Princess Zara and Princess Amara already in the main corridor, organizing evacuation procedures. Queen Amina stood at a window, looking down at her capital. Even from the palace height, they could see fires beginning to bloom in the darkness below. The granaries, Amina said, her voice tight with fear. They're collapsing. We'll lose our entire food reserve. And the aqueduct, if it breaks, we'll have no clean water. Commander Lydia burst through the doors. Your Majesty, the southern wall has partially collapsed. Citizens are trapped in the rubble. We need every able body for rescue operations. Deploy all crescent blades, Amina ordered immediately. Then she turned to Adebayo and Nola. This is not your kingdom. You have no obligation to help. Your ships wait in the harbor. You could leave. Adebayo stared at her. Your Majesty, with respect, if you believe we would abandon people in need because they're not our citizens, then you understand nothing about cooperation. Nola was already moving toward the door. We have engineers, physicians, and supplies with our honor guard. Princess Amara, what do your people need most? For the first time, Princess Amara smiled at them without any hint of challenge. Everything. We need everything. What followed was chaos organized into purpose. Prince Adebayo took charge of the food supply crisis. The granaries had collapsed, but not all the grain was lost. With the help of Nomaran workers and his own kingdom's engineers, they began salvaging what they could and organizing emergency rationing. 3 meals a day becomes 2, Adebayo explained to the gathered citizens in the dawnlight. Not because your queen is cruel, but because we must make supplies last until more can be grown or purchased. Everyone eats, or no one does. Those who hoard will face justice. An older Nomaran man, one of those who'd been trapped in the mine Adebayo had helped rescue, stepped forward. We trust the foreign prince. He saved our lives before. He'll keep his word now. Princess Nola coordinated rescue operations with Princess Amara. The Crescent Blades and the Altherian Kazaran Honor Guard worked side by side, pulling survivors from collapsed buildings. Nola's combat training made her fearless climbing through unstable rubble. She pulled out 3 children herself, handing them to safety before diving back into danger. You're insane, Amara shouted at her as they both clung to a swaying beam, trying to reach a trapped woman. I learned from the best, Nola shouted back. You would do the same. I would. Amara laughed. Then together they hauled the woman to safety. Princess Zara established a triage center in the palace courtyard, organizing Nomaran healers and Altherian physicians into efficient teams. Her scholarly mind proved perfect for logistics, tracking supplies, coordinating care, ensuring no one fell through the cracks. When a young girl was brought in with a crushed leg, Zara held her hand through the surgery. You're so brave, she whispered. Braver than any scholar I know. Will I walk again? The girl asked through tears. I don't know, Zora answered honestly. But we will make sure you have the best care possible. And if you cannot walk, we will make sure you still have a life worth living. You have my word as a scholar. Queen Mother Amina watched all of this from the palace steps. She had organized the overall response, directing resources where they were most needed. But she also saw something else unfolding before her eyes. She saw her warrior daughter and a foreign warrior princess working as seamless partners, neither caring about gender or kingdom, only about saving lives. She saw a foreign prince treating Nomaran men with respect, asking for their expertise, listening to their knowledge, and those men responding with loyalty and dedication because someone finally recognized their worth. She saw her scholar daughter organizing people with the help of foreign physicians, all of them working together regardless of origin or beliefs because the crisis demanded cooperation. And she saw, with painful clarity, that everything she'd built her life on was wrong. 3 days after the earthquake, as the crisis finally began to stabilize, Queen Mother Amina called everyone to the palace square. Thousands gathered, Nomaran citizens, Crescent Blades, Altherian guards, Khazaran warriors, all of them exhausted and filthy but alive. I have watched these 3 days, Amina began, her voice carrying across the square. I have watched foreigners risk their lives for people they owe nothing to. I have watched my daughters work alongside those I once called enemies. I have watched men and women from 3 different kingdoms cooperate without concern for gender or borders, only for saving lives. She paused, and for the first time, vulnerability showed on her regal face. My mother taught me that men cannot be trusted. She had reason for this belief. My grandfather tried to murder her. But I realize now that she made the same mistake she accused men of making. She judged an entire gender by the actions of individuals. She built a system on fear rather than principle. The crowd was utterly silent. The test of blades proved that warrior skill belongs to those who train, regardless of gender. The test of minds proved that intellectual brilliance exists in both men and women. But this test of hearts, proved something more important. It proved that cooperation is not just a beautiful idea. It is the only thing that works when crisis comes. She turned to face Prince Adebayo and Princess Nola directly. You win the contest. Not because you defeated us, but because you proved that your system works when it matters most. You had every reason to leave. You owed us nothing. But you stayed. You risked yourselves. You treated our people as your own. Tears streamed down her face, the first time anyone had seen the Iron Queen cry. I was wrong. About men. About cooperation. About everything I've built my life defending. And I apologize. The square erupted in chaos. Some cheered. Some wept. Some stood in shocked silence, unable to process what they'd just witnessed. But Adebayo stepped forward and did something that shocked everyone. He knelt before Queen Amina. Your Majesty, he said clearly, you were not wrong to protect your people. You were not wrong to build a system that prevented the abuse your grandmother suffered. You were only wrong to think that was the only system that could work. But admitting you were wrong? That takes more courage than any king I know has ever shown. He rose, meeting her eyes. My mother, Queen Elise, taught me something. She said that true nobility isn't about being right. It's about being willing to change when you learn better. Your Majesty, you have just shown true nobility. Queen Mother Amina reached out and gripped his shoulder. Your mother is a wise woman. I would like to meet her one day. You will, Adebayo promised. Because I hope our kingdoms can be more than just not enemies. I hope we can be allies. True allies. Then let us make it so, Amina declared. I propose a triple alliance. Altheria, Khazara, and Narmera, bound not by conquest, but by cooperation. 3 kingdoms, 3 ways of governing, but shared values. Justice, compassion, merit over birth, and opportunity for all regardless of gender. The crowd roared its approval. But then Queen Amina smiled, a genuine warm smile that transformed her severe features. And I believe there is one more matter to address. She turned to her daughter. Zara, my brilliant scholar. You have been glancing at that foreign prince for days. And he at you. Would you like to tell me why? Princess Zara's face went bright red. Mother. Because, Amina continued, I am not blind. And if a union between our kingdoms would strengthen this alliance. She raised an eyebrow. Adebayo felt his heart stop. Princess Zara looked at him across the square, her intelligent eyes wet with tears. Then she did something that shocked everyone. She walked to him, removed her scholar's spectacles, and said clearly for everyone to hear, Prince Adebayo of Altheria, you challenged everything I believed. You proved my mother wrong through patience and evidence, not force. You saved my people when you owed them nothing. And you made me want to believe in something better. She took a shaky breath. I am a scholar. I follow evidence. And all the evidence tells me that you are the most remarkable man I have ever met. So yes, if you will have me, I would be honored to unite our kingdoms through marriage. The crowd went absolutely wild. Adebayo reached out and took her hands, his heart feeling like it might burst. Princess Zara, you are the most brilliant, courageous, beautiful person I have ever known. Yes. 1,000 times yes. When they kissed, the cheers could be heard across the entire capital. Princess Nola hooped so loudly that Princess Amara laughed and clapped her on the back. Your brother will never believe this story. He'd better, Nola replied, because we're all going to be family now. Queen Mother Amina watched the celebration with a small smile. Change was terrifying. Admitting you were wrong was agony. But watching her daughter's joy, seeing her people cheering, feeling hope instead of defensive anger for the first time in decades. Perhaps being wrong about something was the first step toward being right about everything else. 1 week after the earthquake, representatives from all 3 kingdoms gathered in Nomera's restored throne room to formalize what crisis had forged. The earthquake damage had been mostly repaired, but deliberate marks remained. Cracks in the stone left visible as reminders that even the strongest structures could be shaken, and that rebuilding required cooperation. King Rowan and Queen Elise had sailed to Nomera the moment they received word of the contest's outcome, and their son's engagement. Now Queen Elise stood before Queen Mother Amina, 2 women who had never met but whose choices would shape 3 kingdoms. Queen Elise, Amina said formally, though her eyes were warm. I understand I have you to thank for teaching your son that character matters more than birth. You have yourself to thank for being willing to test your assumptions, Elise replied gently. That is a courage many rulers never find. They clasped arms like warriors, and the watching crowd knew something powerful was being born. King Malik had arrived from Khazara with his own retinue. He embraced his sister Nola with visible relief. You fought the Crescent Blade champion to a draw, he said, pride evident in his voice. Father would be so proud. I learned from the best, Nola replied, nodding toward Princess Amara, who stood nearby in full ceremonial armor. She's agreed to come to Khazara to train our warriors. We'll return the favor by sending our tacticians to Nomera. Malik turned to Prince Adebayo with a grin. So you're getting married to the scholar princess. Does this mean I have to actually read books now? It would help, Adebayo replied with a smile. But Zara can teach you. She's patient with hopeless cases. Princess Zara, standing beside Adebayo in her purple and silver scholar's robes, adjusted her spectacles with mock indignation. I heard that. You were meant to, Adebayo replied, taking her hand. The treaty signing was a solemn affair. Queen Mother Amina, King Rowan, and King Malik each placed their seals on the document that Princess Zara had drafted with the help of advisors from all 3 kingdoms. Marcus, the elderly council chairman from Altheria, had made the journey despite his age. He read the treaty aloud in a voice that still carried authority. We, the sovereign rulers of Altheria, Khazara, and Nomera, do hereby establish a triple alliance founded on these principles. First, that justice and opportunity shall be extended to all citizens regardless of gender, birth, or origin. Second, that leadership positions shall be determined by merit and character, not by tradition or assumption. Third, that each kingdom retains its own system of governance, but all commit to treating each other's citizens with dignity and defending each other against external threats. Fourth, that economic cooperation and shared resources during crisis are obligations, not optional kindnesses. The document went on to establish joint councils, shared military training, merchant agreements, and scholar exchanges. But the heart of it was simple: 3 kingdoms choosing cooperation over isolation. When the seals were affixed, Queen Mother Amina stood to address the gathered witnesses. For over a century, Namera has stood alone, trusting only in ourselves. We thought isolation made us strong. But I have learned that true strength comes from connection, not the weakness of depending on others, but the power of choosing to stand together when standing alone would be easier. She looked at her daughters. Princess Amara will command a joint military force, ensuring all 3 kingdoms can defend each other. Princess Zara will lead a joint scholarly academy, ensuring knowledge flows freely between our peoples. And... She paused, her stern face softening. Princess Zara will marry Prince Adebayo in 3 months' time, uniting Namera and Altheria through bonds of love, not conquest. The crowd cheered, but Amina raised her hand for silence. But there is more. I have decided that Namera's absolute matriarchy will reform. Not immediately. Change must be thoughtful. But we will begin opening positions of authority to men who prove themselves worthy through the same standards we hold for women. Not because women are incapable, but because excluding half our people from contributing their gifts makes us weaker, not stronger. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some cheered, some looked uncertain, some openly wept with relief. But no one rioted. No one rebelled. Because they had watched their princess and a foreign prince save their city together. They had seen cooperation work. That evening, a private dinner was held for the royal families and close advisors. Queen Elise found herself seated beside Queen Mother Amina. "Your son is remarkable," Amina said quietly. "But I see where he learned it. Tell me, Queen Elise, how did an orphan become a queen?" Elise smiled. "Through 3 tests. Not unlike the ones you imposed, actually. Tests of compassion, wisdom, and courage. I had no wealth, no family, no advantages. But I had a golden heart. And that, apparently, was enough." "More than enough," Amina replied. "I wish I had known you decades ago. Perhaps things would have been different." "Perhaps," Elise agreed. "But we know each other now. And that is what matters." Across the table, Princess Zara was showing Prince Adebayo something she'd written. A draft of her thoughts on reforming educational access in all 3 kingdoms. He read it with complete focus, occasionally asking sharp questions that made her eyes light up with joy. "They're going to change the world," King Rowan observed to King Malik, who sat beside him. "They already have," Malik replied. "Look around. 3 kingdoms that had never even met now sharing a meal like family. Your son did that. Well, him and my sister. And those 2 fierce princesses from Namera. The next generation," Rowan said thoughtfully. "They're better than we were." "That's how it should be," Malik agreed. "Each generation building on what came before, reaching higher. Your father-in-law, King Adebayo I, started this with the grain reserve system. Your wife built on it with the cooperation model. Now our children are expanding it to include entire kingdoms. Imagine what their children will do." Princess Nola, overhearing this, raised her cup. "To the next generation. May they be braver than us, wiser than us, and may they never forget that cooperation built everything they inherit." Everyone drank to that. Later, Prince Adebayo and Princess Zara walked in the palace gardens. The same gardens where they'd first really talked, where she told him about her grandmother's betrayal, where connection had begun to form. "Are you nervous?" Zara asked, taking his hand. 3 months until the wedding. "Terrified," Adebayo admitted. "But not about marrying you." About living up to what everyone expects. Being a leader worthy of this alliance. Zara stopped walking and turned to face him. Adebayo, listen to me. You already are. You proved it in the test of minds. You proved it when you stayed during the earthquake. You proved it when you knelt before my mother and called her courageous for admitting she was wrong. You are already the leader everyone needs. She touched his sacred bracelet, the one his mother had given him. And you carry your grandmother's legacy here. The orphan queen would be so proud of her grandson. Adebayo pulled her close. I love you, Zara. Your brilliant mind, your courageous heart, your honest soul. I love that you wanted me to win even when it meant challenging your mother's beliefs. That took more courage than any battle. I love you too, Zara whispered. You made me believe in something better. Not just cooperation between kingdoms, but cooperation between hearts. Between people who choose each other despite every reason not to. When they kissed under the Nomaran stars, it felt like more than just two people falling in love. It felt like the future being born, a future where kingdoms worked together, where gender didn't determine destiny, where character mattered more than tradition. A future built on the golden legacy of an orphan who became a queen. And that future was just beginning. 3 weeks after the treaty signing, Prince Adebayo sat in his Nomaran guest chambers writing letters. The wedding was 2 months away, and preparations had begun in all 3 kingdoms. But tonight, he needed to write to those who couldn't be present for the everyday moments, the quiet times that mattered just as much as the grand ceremonies. His first letter was to Captain Samuel, the reformed assassin who now led Altheria's royal guard. Captain Samuel, I write to you because you, more than most, understand the power of second chances. Queen Mother Amina was raised believing men could not be trusted with power. She had evidence. Her own grandfather tried to murder her grandmother. Based on that trauma, she built an entire system designed to prevent men from ever hurting women again. But she was wrong. Not about the hurt being real. About the solution. You were hired to assassinate my mother. You failed, were caught, and should have been executed. Instead, my mother showed mercy. She saw in you the capacity for change. And she was right. You have protected our family for 20 years. My mother trusts you with her life. I tell you this because you are living proof of what I argued in the test of minds. Character can change. People can grow. And gender has nothing to do with that capacity. When you guard my mother, remember, you are not just protecting a queen. You are proving that redemption is real. That mercy matters. That an orphan's compassion can transform even those who meant to harm her. Thank you for being the man you chose to become. Prince Adebayo. His second letter was to Marcus, the elderly council chairman who had once conspired against his mother. Chairman Marcus. Princess Zara asked me yesterday how people who once hated each other can learn to work together. I told her about you. You were part of the conspiracy against my mother. You believed an orphan had no right to rule. You thought tradition and birth mattered more than character. You were wrong. But when my mother showed you mercy, when she let you prove yourself through service, you became one of her most loyal advisors. You didn't just change your mind. You changed your heart. The triple alliance we've just formed is built on the same principle, that former enemies can become allies when given the chance to see each other truly. Queen Mother Amina spent her life believing men were the enemy, but she was willing to test that assumption. And when the evidence contradicted her beliefs, she had the courage to change. That's what you taught me, Marcus. That admitting you were wrong is not weakness. It's the beginning of wisdom. Thank you for showing me that redemption is possible. Prince Adebayo. His third letter was to his mother. Mother. I am engaged. I know you already know this. Father's letters beat mine home by a week. But I wanted to write to you separately because you, more than anyone, will understand what this means. Princess Zara is brilliant, Mother. Her mind is like yours, sharp, curious, unwilling to accept easy answers. She was raised believing men could not truly partner with women in leadership. She had to argue against everything I believe. And in the middle of that debate, she realized I was right. But here's what matters. She didn't change her mind because I convinced her. She changed her mind because she followed evidence where it led, even when it contradicted what she'd been taught her whole life. That takes intellectual courage I can barely comprehend. She reminds me of you. Not in appearance, but in spirit. She has your unwillingness to accept injustice, your compassion for those who suffer, your fierce intelligence, your golden heart wrapped in scholarly robes instead of royal ones. I am wearing the bracelet you gave me, your bracelet from when you were an orphan. It reminded me, during the contest, that I carry your legacy, that everything I argued for was built on the foundation you laid. You proved an orphan could be a queen. I am trying to prove that an orphan's son can be worthy of her legacy. I love you, Mother. And I hope when you meet Zara, you will see in her the same qualities that made you a queen: courage, wisdom, compassion, and an unwillingness to accept the world as it is when it could be better. Your son, Adebayo. His final letter was to Princess Zara's mother, Queen Mother Amina. Thank you for trusting me with your daughter. I know how hard that is. I watched you during the test of hearts. I saw your face when Princess Zara and I worked together to save your people. You were afraid. Not of me harming your daughter, but of your daughter choosing a path different from the one you planned for her. Every parent faces that fear. My mother faced it when I volunteered for this diplomatic mission. Your mother faced it when she killed her husband to save herself and had to raise you in the shadow of that trauma. But you let Zara choose. You didn't forbid her feelings. You didn't use your authority to separate us. You trusted her to make her own decision about her own heart. That takes courage that most rulers never find. I promise you this. I will never try to diminish Zara's brilliance. I will never ask her to be less than she is. I will support her scholarship, celebrate her achievements, and build her up rather than tearing her down. Because I fell in love with who she is. Her mind, her courage, her honest heart that follows truth wherever it leads. Your daughter is not betraying Nomera by marrying me. She is expanding what Nomera means. She is showing that cooperation makes us stronger, not weaker. She is proving that love can build bridges that politics alone cannot. Thank you for raising a woman brave enough to challenge everything she was taught when the evidence demanded it. Thank you for being brave enough to admit you were wrong. And thank you for giving me the chance to prove that men and women can truly partner as equals. Your future son-in-law, Prince Adebayo. As Adebayo sealed the final letter, Princess Zara entered his chambers carrying her own stack of correspondence. Writing letters? She asked, sitting beside him. To people who helped make this possible, Adebayo replied. People who proved that change is real. Zara smiled. I've been writing too. To scholars in all 3 kingdoms, proposing a joint academy. To my sister, telling her she's going to be my maid of honor. And she held up a sealed letter. To your mother. My mother. She's the reason any of this is possible, Zara said simply. She proved an orphan could be a queen. She built a system based on cooperation. She raised a son who could see past his own kingdom's borders. I wanted to thank her. And I wanted to ask her advice. About being a wife to a prince. About balancing scholarship with royal duties. About how to keep your identity when you're joining your life to someone else's. Adebayo took her hand. She'll love you. And she'll tell you exactly what I'm telling you. Never stop being yourself. That's who I fell in love with. The nerdy scholar with too many books and strong opinions. Zara teased. Exactly her, Adebayo confirmed. Don't ever change. 2 weeks later, Queen Elisa's response arrived. Princess Zara, your letter moved me to tears. Not sad tears, joyful ones. You asked how to balance being a scholar and being a princess. I will tell you what I learned. You don't balance them. You integrate them. Being a scholar makes you a better princess. Being a princess gives you a platform for your scholarship. They are not separate things. They are both you. I was an orphan before I was a queen. I could have tried to hide that, to pretend I'd always been noble. Instead, I let it shape my rule. My past made me compassionate toward the poor. My lack of privilege made me question traditions that served the wealthy at the expense of others. Your scholarship is not separate from your role as future queen of two kingdoms. It is the foundation of it. Your analytical mind, your commitment to evidence, your unwillingness to accept injustice, these are what will make you a great leader. As for keeping your identity while joining your life to my son's, the secret is that a good marriage doesn't erase identity. It amplifies it. My husband Rowan has never asked me to be less than I am. He celebrates my strengths, supports my goals, and builds me up rather than diminishing me. My son learned this from watching us. He will do the same for you. You are not losing yourself by marrying Adebayo. You are gaining a partner who will help you become more fully yourself. I cannot wait to meet you. And I cannot wait to welcome you into our family. With love and respect, Queen Elise. P.S. Bring your books to Altheria. Our library is extensive, but I suspect yours is more specialized. Let's merge our collections. Scholarship should be shared, not hoarded. When Princess Zara finished reading, she was crying. Your mother is remarkable. She is, Adebayo agreed. And now you understand why I couldn't lose the test of minds. I wasn't just defending a system. I was defending her legacy. Everything she built, everything she proved, that an orphan could rule, that character matters more than birth, that cooperation works, all of it was on trial. You didn't just defend it, Zara said softly. You expanded it. You proved cooperation can work not just within kingdoms, but between them. Not just between social classes, but between different worldviews. Your mother proved an orphan could be a queen. You proved that Queen's son could unite kingdoms. She took his hand. The golden legacy continues. Through you. Through us. Through what we're building together. As they sat together in comfortable silence, both reading and writing, Adebayo thought about legacy. His grandfather had started with a grain reserve system. His mother had expanded it into kingdom-wide cooperation. He had taken it across borders, creating the Triple Alliance. What would his children do? What would the next generation build on this foundation? He glanced at Zara, her nose already back in a book, completely absorbed. Their children would be brilliant, curious, brave enough to question everything. Compassionate enough to fight for justice. The golden legacy would continue, and it would reach heights none of them could yet imagine. 2 months until the wedding. 2 months until 3 kingdoms celebrated not conquest, but choice. Not domination, but partnership. Not the end of independence, but the beginning of something better. The future was bright. And it was built on the foundation of an orphan's golden heart. Beautiful. Letters of love, redemption, and legacy. If you're emotional about this entire journey, smash that like button and subscribe to Folktales by Inayah. Drop a comment. Which letter touched your heart most? And 2 months until the wedding. 3 kingdoms celebrating together. Queen Elise meeting Princess Zara. This is going to be epic. More is coming with the royal wedding and you absolutely cannot miss it. Share this video. Turn on notifications. The golden legacy continues and the best is yet to come.